Chapter 10, Shadows of Doubt. Marcus cornered Lyra in the lab, his eyes gleaming with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Lyra, I've been thinking about Darius and his family. There's something off about them. Have you noticed?" Lyra shifted her gaze to her microscope, feigning nonchalance. "What do you mean?" Marcus leaned against the counter, his voice casual yet probing. "Their history on the island, for one. It's like they've been here forever, but no one knows much about them. And have you seen some of the old legends? They talk about sea creatures, monsters even. It's fascinating stuff." Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She thought of Darius, his mesmerizing eyes, his inexplicable connection to the sea. "That's just mythology, Marcus. You know how these island stories go." Marcus smirked. "But what if they're not just stories? What if there's some truth to them?" Lyra's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her glasses. She was torn between her loyalty to Darius and her scientific integrity. "I think you're reading too much into this." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Am I? Or are you just too close to the subject to see clearly?" Lyra felt a pang of guilt. She knew Marcus was driven by curiosity, but his questions were hitting too close to home. She needed to escape, to clear her mind. Lyra found herself on a secluded beach, a hidden sanctuary known only to a few. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the sand and sea. She sat down, hugging her knees to her chest, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. Darius appeared beside her, his presence a soothing balm to her turmoil. "You looked like you needed some space," he said softly. Lyra leaned into him, grateful for his understanding. "Marcus has been asking questions. About you, your family." Darius tensed slightly but kept his voice calm. "What kind of questions?" Lyra sighed. "About your history, the legends. He's suspicious, Darius. And I don't know what to believe anymore." Darius took her hand, tracing circles on her palm with his thumb. "Lyra, I know this is difficult for you. But you have to trust me. Trust what you feel." Lyra looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity and the hint of fear. She felt her heart ache with the weight of her decision. She wanted to trust him, to believe in the impossible. But the rational part of her mind screamed for caution. She leaned into him, seeking comfort in his embrace. The beach was their sanctuary, a place where they could be alone, away from the prying eyes of the world. Here, they could share intimate touches and stolen moments, letting the rest of the world fade away. The sun surrendered to the horizon, painting the beach in hues of liquid gold. As day surrendered to dusk, so too did Lyra relinquish her inhibitions. She turned to face Darius, her eyes sparkling with newfound desire. With deliberate slowness, she traced the contours of his face, her fingertips a feather-light caress against his skin. "Here, in this secluded haven, we're safe from prying eyes and questioning gazes," Darius murmured, his eyes darkening with unspoken yearning. He pulled her closer, their fingers intertwining, their hearts thrumming in harmony. Lyra's breath quickened, her cheeks flushed as she surrendered to the warm sensation of their bodies pressed together. "Just us," she whispered, her voice thick with anticipation. "No barriers, no inhibitions, just the honest truth of what we both desire." Their lips met in a passionate kiss, a dance that mirrored the tempestuous sea around them. The salty breeze mixed with their breath, fueling their senses. Darius's hands roamed over Lyra's body, his fingertips gently tracing the curves of her hips and her slender waist, as if he were memorizing the shape of her. Lyra's breath hitched, her body alive with awareness. Boldly, her hands explored the strength of his sculpted form, marveling at the muscles beneath his skin. "I want to know you completely," she whispered against his skin, leaving a trail of warmth in her wake. Darius drew her closer, his heart racing with a need that mirrored her own. His hands softly cupped her form, his fingers memorizing her shape, captivated by her softness and grace. Their mouths met again, a burgeoning connection that ignited the air around them. The fire that had been smoldering since their first encounter flared into a full blaze, engulfing them in a whirlwind of desire. More, Lyra breathed, her voice a mixture of longing and urgency. With a low growl, Darius held her firmly, enveloping her in his embrace. She wrapped her legs around him, and together they became one, moving in a rhythm that felt as ancient as the ocean itself. The warm waves lapped against them, heightening every sensation. As they shared their passion, the world around them faded. The beach became their sanctuary, the waves singing their own harmony in response to the joy and connection they embraced as one. "Let go," Darius urged, his voice thick with emotion, guiding her to surrender completely. Lyra clung to him, overwhelmed by the moment. The cool water kissed their skin, contrasting the warmth of their bodies as they lost themselves in each other, becoming part of the elemental forces that surrounded them. Suddenly, the distant sound of footsteps disrupted their intimate world. The murmur of unfamiliar voices, like a sudden chill in the air, broke the spell they had woven. The magic of their moment faltered, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. Lyra's breath came in short gasps, her heart racing with a mix of frustration and desire. She looked at Darius, determination and excitement sparking in her eyes. "What now?" she asked, feeling both the weight of the intrusion and the remnants of the connection they had forged. Lyra and Darius froze, their eyes widening as they realized they were not alone. The voices grew louder, carrying the weight of their worst fears. "Naya?" Darius whispered, his eyes searching the distance. Lyra nodded, her heart sinking. "Or Marcus. We can't take that chance." They quickly adjusted their clothing, the cold night air a sharp contrast to their heated skin. The voices drew closer, carrying an air of suspicion and intrigue. "What are they doing here?" Lyra hissed, her eyes darting around for a hiding place. Darius pulled her behind a rocky outcrop, shielding them from view. "We can't let them find us like this." "Not now." They held their breath as the voices grew nearer, the footsteps crunching on the sand. The tension between them escalated, fueled by the fear of discovery. Their forbidden love, their private moments, it could all be exposed in an instant. Lyra's heart raced as she peered around the rocks, catching a glimpse of familiar faces. The intruders were indeed connected to Naya and Marcus, their presence intensifying the conflict. She felt trapped, like a caged animal, her desire for Darius warring with the reality of their situation. Lyra and Darius exchanged a tense glance, their bodies instinctively shifting to conceal their intimate moment. Darius's hand rested on the small of Lyra's back, guiding her further into the shadows of the rocky outcrop. His touch was gentle yet firm, a silent promise of protection. "We can't let them see us," Darius murmured, his voice barely audible over the rhythmic lull of the sea. His eyes scanned the beach, alert and wary. The voices grew louder, their owners still hidden from view. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. She leaned into Darius, her voice a hushed whisper. "Who are they? What do they want?" Darius's jaw tightened, his gaze fixed on the distant figures now emerging onto the beach. "I don't know, but we can't take any chances." As they retreated deeper into the shadows, Lyra's mind raced with unspoken questions. She glanced at Darius, his profile etched with concern. The legends, the prophecies, they swirled in her mind, a tantalizing puzzle begging to be solved. Yet, she hesitated, the weight of her scientific skepticism holding her back. "Darius," she began, her voice tentative. "The legends, they talk about creatures, protectors of the sea. Do you?" Darius turned to her, his eyes reflecting the moonlit waves. "Lyra, there are things about this island, about me, that you don't understand. She studied his face, searching for answers in the depths of his gaze. As the voices on the beach grew distant, Lyra and Darius remained hidden, their bodies pressed close, their hearts pounding in sync. The night air was thick with tension, the weight of their unspoken words a tangible force between them. Lyra's mind was a whirlwind of emotion. She thought of her research, her ambition, her desire to make a significant discovery. But she also thought of Darius, of the connection they shared, of the secrets that lingered in the depths of his eyes. She was torn, her heart and her mind pulling her in different directions. Darius looked down at her, his expression a mix of tenderness and resolve. "I promise you, Lyra, I will do everything in my power to keep you safe. But you have to trust me." Lyra nodded, her throat tight with emotion. She wanted to trust him, to believe in him. But she also wanted the truth. And she knew, deep down, that the path to that truth was fraught with danger and uncertainty. As they huddled together in the shadows, Lyra and Darius were united in their silence, their bodies a barrier against the encroaching world. Their internal battles raged on, a tumultuous sea of emotion threatening to engulf them both. But for now, they stood firm, their bond unbroken, their secrets safe in the sanctuary of their shared solitude.